All right. Good morning. Welcome to Chi-Town Lowdown. Thanks for joining us again. Excited to be back with you as Bears fans, not as excited as we'd like to be, but we continue to not put up any more wins in the win column, which does increase our draft stock, which I think after the
Tanking.
loss,
Tanking.
yeah, after the loss on Thursday, I think we've hopped up to the 7 slot. With some of the outcomes of today's games, we may move up a little bit higher with some less, some bad teams playing each other, like the likes of Jaguars, Titans. That could have some implications where we move up a little bit. So we'll continue to monitor that. But we're gonna merge our Bears recap and our picks segment into one video today. So we're gonna start with the Bears. And Luke did a little bit of research before we hopped on here, so I'm gonna pass it over to him. He's gonna kick us off for that.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Yeah, as you guys may have guessed, not a ton to recap because this team sucks, right? So I was telling Jesse and Tom in preparation for the show, typically what I do is I go back and watch all the highlights from the game. Those highlights are typically somewhere between like 12 to 16 minutes worth of, vital downs, exciting plays, scoring plays, whatever it might be. There were 8 minutes worth of highlights for this game. Now it was just a poor game for both teams, but obviously the Bears are in a spot right now that it's really obviously just a depressing spot to be in as a fan. My notes for this week were one winning season in the last 12. That sucks. More confusion in the fourth with an opportunity to win a game. We were fourth in inches. Naturally, we have to get a false start. I mean, there's zero chance we're going to get a playoff without shooting ourselves in the foot. So, false start. Then Thomas Brown, I think there's 2 minutes and 16 seconds left on the clock. Thomas Brown says, okay, let's punt the ball because obviously we still have a lot to fight for this year, right? So we go to punt the ball. He then takes one of the 3 remaining timeouts.
It says, "Oh shit! Wait, maybe we should go for it."
I don't want to punt. I want to go for this. And then when confronted with what the hell happened after the game, he said, "Oh, it wasn't confusion. I just changed my mind."
After he heard the Bears fans boo, I'm sure a cascade of boos coming from the stands. He was like, "Oh wait, yeah, right. What am I doing?"
The indecisiveness. I knew that when Thomas Brown took over as interim, this was not a long-term solution. Like he was given the opportunity to kind of show maybe his chops as a coordinator and potentially earn himself a spot on the coaching, team for next year. In what capacity, I don't know. He wasn't going to keep his job as head coach moving into next year, right? But he had an opportunity to kind of like say like, hey, I do have the ability to manage a team or manage a unit within a team, and obviously that has not gone great, right? I don't dislike the guy, but it's representative of the organization and the team as a whole. They just don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're doing. There's a lack of communication. There's a lack of decisiveness. There's a lack of, doing your job. Like they just can't do it. And it's pathetic. On that last drive, Caleb showed some flashes like he oftentimes does in these games where, like a snap gets rolled to his feet. He picks it up, dodges a guy, throws a ball 100 miles an hour on, 3rd and 15 and completes a pass to extend a drive. But then on the next possession or on the next set of downs, he does something that's asinine and just absurd. He turns a 7-yard sack into a 15-yard sack. And Jesse was pointing out prior to the podcast starting, his sack avoidance numbers, which you're getting in, you can kind of get into the weeds with some of that stuff, but it ties in perfectly with what my final note was. And I had this written down prior to meeting with the guys before the podcast, is Caleb beginning to feel like Justin. And it's interesting that when Jesse pulled this graphic up regarding sack avoidance, that if you're familiar with these quadrant graphs, bottom left bad, okay? You don't want to be bottom left. It doesn't matter what the graph is. Being in the bottom left is always bad on a graph such as this. If you'll notice, there are a few familiar names here. Caleb Williams is in what we like to call hell. Right? Now, we have a few people who are bordering on hell, right? You may recognize this name here, Jay Fields, 22. That is our previous quarterback. There's another person here. His name is Jay Fields, 23. That is our previous quarterback, right? And then we have, all-time greats like Zach Wilson here from the 21 season. Bryce Young last year really tore it up. Russell Wilson, we know how good he was there towards the end of Denver, or his run in Denver. So, and Seattle, that looks good. Baker was really doing well there with Cleveland in 21. It sucks. I don't really know what else to say. I guess let's look forward to 2025. I am quite frankly, like if you're a Bears fan, you watch this and you're thinking to yourself, like, I'm sick. I don't want to hear like the negative self-talk. Go listen to something else, because that's all you're going to get out of me for the rest of the year. I'll recharge my batteries in the off season like I always do, and I'll put a happy face on when the draft comes around, and I'll convince myself that the guy that they hired or replace our head coach is going to be the right person. But I'm done. So, you guys have any thoughts?
Yeah. The sell the team chance is the only way. That happening is like the only way I'm going to be happy at this point. Like, you said it, 12 out of 12 years, one winning season. Like, that's my NFL watching life. Like, I've only known the Bears just sucking. Well, 2005. I guess I do remember that a little bit, going to the Super Bowl. But still,
2018, credit. We were 12-4 in the NFC North.
A little longer than that.
Yeah. But like, I've really been doing the podcast and like watching games, and it's just, I'm glad that I'm with you guys. We're going through it together. There is light somewhere, right? There's got to be, but I don't see it anytime soon, to be honest with you. Thomas Brown, I got to give him a little bit of credit. Like, up in the box when he was calling plays as an offensive coordinator, not too bad. He was doing all right, right? So, there might be a place in the NFL for him, but not on the Bears. Caleb, we've talked about him. It's just like, I want him to be better than he is. He shows glimpses of hope, and then he just holds on to the ball too long sometimes. I'm like, what are we doing? Takes the sacks. It's just tough. And like Luke, you've said it most everything that I need to talk about. So, Jesse, you got anything?
Yeah. Just going back to this. So, bottom left quadrant bad, right? And so what are the two axis data points telling us? So on the left, you've got catchable throw rate.
Yeah.
So if you're down at the bottom, you're wildly inaccurate at times. And we've seen that. We've seen Caleb miss on deep balls. We've seen him miss intermediate. We've seen him miss short. So, I think that was something we didn't really expect from Caleb, with all the hype having, the arm talent, and kind of being a generational type talent coming out of college. Not really what you would expect. And then the bottom data point, pressure to sack rate. So how many times is pressure leading to an actual sack? Obviously, Caleb is the worst on both of these data points, and really that's tough to do. You can point to the offensive line and say, yeah, he doesn't have much help up front, but I guarantee if you look at some of these other names on here, you'll see guys who have been behind offensive lines that really haven't been,
Ours are historical
world beaters or anything. But what you'll notice on the right side of the graph are guys that consistently do not take negative plays or do a great job not taking negative plays. And those guys are the premier quarterbacks in the league, the Pat Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Jared Goffs, Jordan Love last year's up there. I mean, he has an offensive minded quarterback who probably has drilled that into his head, as well as playing behind Aaron Rodgers for 4 years. These guys get that taking negative plays as an offense just kills drives. Obviously, Caleb hasn't been coached that or doesn't quite understand that to this point in his career, but that's something that needs to change moving forward. And then obviously he needs to work on becoming more accurate with the ball as well. So moving into next year, those are going to be some things to look forward. I mean, he can't get much worse.
And real quick on this, you're right, Jesse. Obviously, getting worse, he's going to fall off of the chart, right? It's not possible. Unless we're adjusting our X and Y axis here and our percentages associated with each. Two things. Shout out F-Ball Insights for the graph on Twitter. Go check out that page. A lot of cool graphs on that page. Just looking at some here as we were kind of covering this. I want to point out a name here up in the top right quadrant. And if what we've said thus far is true, then there's something to be made of this. So in that top right quadrant, we see Tua's name showing up a couple times here, right? Say what you want about Tua. I personally don't like if someone was like, hey, would you trade Tua for Caleb right now? Based on if my football knowledge were this graph, I'd say yes, right? Give me that guy. But even after this season and after seeing this graph, I'm still taking Caleb. But what this graph tells me is that if your organization, coaching, and franchise as a whole has a collective vision as to what an offense, just an offense, not looking at the whole team perspective, but as an offense, what you want that to look like, you can take a guy who isn't a traditional, prototype for an NFL quarterback, and you can allow him to execute an offense. And that's what you're seeing with Tua here is that they could almost run that Miami offense, passing offense, at least without an offensive line. It's all timing. It's all just get into your read, make your read and throw the ball, right? I just found that part interesting. Is like we can get a little bit of continuity and consistency from top down. I think there's obviously a lot of room for improvement, but let's get into the fun part of this show.
Yeah,
it's going to be picks. Jesse, do you want to do a little recap of picks last week before we get into our picks this week?
Yeah. So we did week 16 picks against the spread. We also included the Christmas Day games as well as the Thursday night game for this week into that segment. So there were 19 total games. One of those games ended in a push. So we had 18 games that led to an outcome of we got them right or we got them wrong. Here's my Google Doc. So of those games last week, you know what? I forgot to put them in the doc. Let me pull up.
I think you had him in there at one point or another. Maybe you texted him to us.
Yeah.
Um,
So last week Tom was 11 for 18. Luke was 13 for 18. Wargo was 7 for 18, and I was 8 for 18. So that brings our season totals to 142 out of 237 for Tom. Just wow.
that's plus 60%.
Yeah.
We will put out at the end of the year, it should be noted, numbers minus locks. But
Yeah.
even if you take locks away, Tom is still well above 50% on the year, which is incredible.
Yeah. Luke's at 140 again for 237. Wargo at 118 and Jesse at 120. Again, that's for 237 games that have not ended in a push to this point in the year. So, yeah. Now moving on to the slate that we have for today, Saturday, December 28th. We got 3 games. We have Sunday football tomorrow, of course, the 29th, and then we have a Monday night game that we will pick as well. So we'll jump right into that. Minus Wargo, we'll get his picks prior to kickoff so that we keep the integrity of our pick segment intact throughout the whole season, which is something that we've wanted to do since the beginning of the year. All right, so jumping in, we have the Chargers traveling to New England, and this line just moved literally as I'm looking at it. So New England's now +6 at home dogs. Luke?
Yeah, so I think they showed some life. And when I say they, I mean New England last week against Buffalo. I think that was the last sign of life that we're going to see out of them from this year. I don't know what their Week 18 game is, but I think they were kind of relishing in the opportunity and maybe screwing some things up for Buffalo going into the playoffs. Put up a pretty good fight against them. Obviously, kind of tailed off there in the second half, and Buffalo, I think, ended up winning by 10, 24 to
3.
14. Won by
24-21.
Oh, okay. So they scored late. But with that being said, Chargers, looking at the playoff picture and percentage.
Clinched, right?
What's that?
Have they clinched the
They
Chargers?
have not. So they are currently in the hunt. They'd be the 6th seed presently. With a win, they're north of 99%. So it's all but sealed if they win this game today. And I think that they kind of understand the gravity of that. Now, even with a loss, there's still an 84% chance of them making it in. But it's always nice going into that final week of the year, having the flexibility to get some guys some rest if necessary, and not have your entire season kind of hinging on that last final moment. So I think the Chargers and the added benefit of having Harbaugh there is that the gravity of these situations, I think, is a little more. It's more of a conscious thing collectively. So I'm going to go with the Chargers here to cover on the road.
This is a tougher game than I want it to be. I feel like Drake May can sling it around. And the first half of that game last week was like, wow, this is looking good. And then the backward pass, the fumble, that's all kind of stuck in my head a little bit. And I'm having a hard time picking the Patriots with a 6. If it was a little higher, maybe I'd go with them. But I think what Luke said is spot on. Like, they're going to want to win this game. The Chargers, to just have that spot locked up against an inferior Patriots team. So, yeah, I'm going Chargers as well.
Luke, are you keeping track of picks?
Yep.
Okay. I hear what you guys are saying. I also think, the Bills probably wanted to win last week. That had big implications for them in the AFC playoff picture. And they did win that game, but they did not win in the fashion that that I think a lot of people were expecting, especially given the line was, I think it was double digits, and the Patriots covered that easily, made it a tough game. With it being a divisional game, we talk about it all the time about how divisional games are kind of different than these non-divisional matchups. So I could see the Chargers kind of running away with this one, but I like New England to keep it close at home with the way Drake May's developing. And I think Mayo is kind of coming into his own with this team as a first-year head coach and putting in place the type of culture and the type of play on the field that he wants out of his team. So
anytime you get the quarterback back in the head coach, it's a good look.
Yeah, I'll take New England here. A couple things to watch, though. I think J.K. Dobbins is questionable. They did activate him off the IR yesterday. So that could bring some juice to this Chargers offense if he is good to go. But I would expect they'll probably keep him on a snap count, especially with the knees that he's had historically. But again, this offense is different when he's able to give them some time in the backfield. So be on the lookout for that. But I'm gonna stick with New England.
Nice.
Next game, Denver traveling to Cincinnati -3.5 points. Obviously, huge playoff implications here. Cincinnati needs Denver to lose these next two games. Obviously, they have complete control over this one. And next week, Denver plays Kansas City at home in a divisional matchup. So that will be Cincinnati will be watching that one very closely if they get the win today. I think a couple other things Cincinnati needs is the Dolphins and the Colts to lose one of the next two. And I'm not sure who their opponents are. But I know Cincinnati is going to do everything that they can to win this game and give themselves the opportunity to make the playoffs if all of those other things, dominoes fall into place. So I like Cincinnati to cover here at home. I think Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, a little bit of a banged up T. Higgins. They're going to do enough to win this game. And I think they're going to be fired up. So I think they're going to be able to win this game handily as well. Bo Nix probably turns the ball over a couple times. The Cincinnati defense has really not inspired confidence in me this year at all. So it's tough, I think that could cost them, but I'm going to trust that they get just enough done with going up against a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix that Cincinnati's able to cover this one here.
I think there's a lot of people on the Bengals side of this one. What's the spread again?
3.5.
For the Bengals?
Yes.
So I don't know if people are forgetting about Cincinnati's defense because it's hard to watch. Granted, last week was better, I think, maybe.
You are right, Tom, in terms of your intuition. 75% of bets placed money line are on the Bengals. However, on the spread, 40% of bets are coming in for the Broncos at +3.5 here.
Yeah. So I just have a feeling, and right now it's Denver is kind of feeling like we're the better team. I don't know why that they're favored at home, obviously, but I think they're going to come in there with a little chip on their shoulder with Bo Nix, crazy eyes coming out in full force. Give me the Broncos.
Yeah, I don't want to pick with Tom, obviously. Every game that I can call back to get in the top spot is big for me. There's only so many left in the year at this point, right? But I think I'm leaning more so towards Denver in this one. Now, I'm really excited for this game. I think it's going to be a really good one. This is a playoff game. It's like every game's a playoff game for Cincinnati right now. But given the fact that this one is one that, as Jesse mentioned, is one that, everything hinges on Denver losing out, right? So they have an opportunity to just go in and take care of business here. I think they do win, but I really only see this game ending one way, and that is close. Field goal at the end, something like that. And I think Denver is a top 5 defense in pretty much all statistical categories as it relates to PFF grades. Now, obviously, those aren't everything, but this is a very, very, very good defense. And obviously, Cincinnati's strength is their offense. There he is. And I'm
mad at you guys. We can get into that later. But.
Perfect. Well, we got all that. The big thing here for me, I think, is that Cincinnati needs this a little bit more. So I think they do inch out a win, but I think Denver keeps it close and they cover on the road. So I'll take Denver.
Wargo?
Denver, Cincinnati.
Is the chart up yet on the Google Doc?
No, I couldn't do it.
Unreal. Nice. We'll do appreciate the 15 minutes of heads up before sending the link to record at 8 a.m. local my time. So thoughtful there. Denver, Cincinnati.
Shut up, Wargo. Jeez Louise.
That was cute. All right. What's the spread, Luke?
3.5. Cincy's favored.
Cincy minus 3.5. Yeah, that's my pick.
You and Jesse.
I think I picked against Joe Burrow last week, and that ended up not being a good idea.
This one's gonna
He
stick.
is good.
This one's gonna really stick with me if Cincy wins big. I'm really excited for this game. I think it's going to be a really good one.
The thing that I like about this game is Denver's win total over under for the season was like 4.5 to start the year, wasn't
they
it?
got a chance to double up, basically.
Respect, because ours was 8.5. And yeah.
Wargo, you want to pick the first game? That was Chargers at New England +6.
Long flight. I like New England at home. It kind of sounds dumb, but I'm kind of dumb. And at this point of the season,
what do you know? Me and Wargo are on the same side. The first
Go with your heart, dude. Go with your heart.
Let's go.
The beard's looking fresh, Wargo. I know that you came out firing a little bit, but I'm gonna come back with
come on. That's reasonable. Don't
Arizona at LA Rams -6.5. Cardinals were eliminated from playoff contention last week, but with an overtime loss to Carolina. And the Cardinals embarrassed the Rams, a banged-up Rams team, in week 2 or 3 in Arizona. I think it was like 40-6. I think the Rams are going to want to get a little bit of payback for that. And with the Cardinals,
matchup issue?
I don't think so. I think it was the Rams were really banged up. They had a really young defense and offensive line that have shown a lot of progression since that point in the year. And this Cardinals team just not, since COD released, just not getting it done for whatever reason. So I'm going to go with the Rams to cover.
Yeah. NFC West. I don't like the Rams to win by touchdown here. I like them to win, but I think the spread's just a little bit too big for me.
Hasn't James Conner been playing really well?
Yes, He has, and
Luke, don't you pick the Cardinals here?
Huh?
Don't pick the Cardinals because that's who I was going to pick. But.
Okay, so I guess you're gonna have to go with the Rams.
Yeah, I'll go with Rams. That's fine.
Just for the sake of fading Luke.
You're more than welcome to join me. I was just kidding about that, but checking on James Conner because I feel like he's been carrying an injury designation most weeks. He is questionable again this week. It does say he's expected to play tonight though. So, I think if he weren't playing, this spread would probably be even a little bit bigger. But yeah, I see Arizona trying to play the spoiler here for the Rams at the end of the year. They've already been eliminated, so they really like all they can play for is to just be a thorn in their side. So I'll take Arizona.
You know what I want is to have a little bit of watchable football that makes me kind of get excited to watch football because we haven't had that for a minute. I mean, the Christmas games were ass. Bears games was ass. So that's what I'm rooting for today. LeBron James doesn't like us, NFL. You just guys see that?
He's delusional. I mean, going up against
LeBron
the NFL,
James.
even if you're LeBron James, is probably not a great idea.
Yeah.
LeBron James.
I'll pick the Rams here, Luke, for the sake of the our picks. I think it could go. What's the spread? 7 or is it 6?
6.5. So they'd have to win by 7
Oh, okay.
to cover.
Yeah. I really do want to pick the Cardinals here.
Do it.
The Cardinals.
Yeah. I'm gonna. I'm sorry, Luke. I was feeling that. I saw that they were playing and I was like, I think this could be a Cardinals game.
Wargo, what do you think?
Yeah.
It's at Arizona, correct?
It's in LA.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a huge home field advantage either way. Short drive for the Cardinals.
I would consider picking the Rams even if it was at Arizona. I feel like that's like a fast field. What are their injuries again going into this game?
Is Kyron back?
Let me check on Kyron.
Puka got a concussion, right?
Who did?
I thought Puka did, didn't he?
Kyron carries no designation, and Puka carries no designation either.
Oh.
So both
I
playing.
just made that up.
Yeah. I don't remember him getting a concussion.
Okay. Well, Stafford and those guys are going to track meet and maybe a touchdown. Yeah, I can see it. I'll go with LA.
Hi, Lola.
She's awake.
She's awake.
Jesse, Arizona Rams. Who are you on?
The Rams.
Rams. All right. So we
All right,
first
dude.
3 games have all picked. It's Wargo and Jesse and
Well, me and Wargo have I think it's been like 5 or 6 weeks now we have consistently underperformed, but maybe we'll see a resurgence. Next game, moving to the noon slate tomorrow. We've got the Jets at Bills minus 10 points.
Was that excited or mad?
Oh, she's
Let's
excited.
go ahead and mute Lola's mic for us while we discuss this pick. So this is going to be the Bills obviously decided to make things interesting last week against New England. Obviously, another division opponent here, another double-digit favorite for them. They were favored by 14 points last week, only getting 10 this week against the Jets. KC has this sealed up. Buffalo can no longer. There's no opportunity for them to work their way into that 1 seed at this point. It'd be interesting to see how they play these last couple of weeks. It would be very easy to, I think, most years kind of take your foot off the gas pedal at this point. The Ravens are 11-5, so even with a loss here, they're still, I believe, ahead of the Ravens. Like Ravens win, the Ravens have already played. Sorry. being at 11-5, I'm picking a lot of dogs here right now, and it's making me nervous.
Any conditions here for this game at all?
Let me take a look. I was going to look earlier. Sorry, Wargo.
That's a good question.
I don't think so. Because there's warm air right now, and lake effect snow usually in Buffalo.
No Saskatchewan screamers this week.
Okay.
Right.
I feel like it'd be closer if it was expecting weather with Braylon Allen, Brees Hall.
Yeah, I would say no, but I'll check.
10
Screw it. Just for the reason that I've been picking dogs in the last 2 games, I'm going to go Buffalo here to cover against the Jets.
Hey, you already know I'm going Buffalo. That's a big spread. Give it to me, baby.
What's the spread again? I'm sorry. We don't have the graphic, and I'm really struggling.
10 flat.
10 Buffalo against the Jets, right?
Yes.
At Buffalo. Josh Allen.
I know. I would pick Buffalo too. I'm having a hard time. I'm just going to pick who I pick, Luke, and I'm sorry if they're going to be with you. I'm also on Buffalo.
Let's go. Big spreads.
Bills failed to cover against a divisional opponent at home last week in New England. I think the case is the same here. I'm taking the Jets.
Jesse's picks are kind of nerdy if they have a trend.
Yeah, apparently trends don't mean a damn thing.
They are, if this makes any difference to you, and I don't know if this was just maybe confusing on your phrasing, but Buffalo was in New England last week. They are at home this week.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I kind of want to switch.
That game last week was not in Buffalo.
Oh, I thought you were saying that it was in New England.
It was in Buffalo last week.
Okay.
It's in Buffalo this week.
I didn't know where it was last week. I was just saying the game this week. I thought you were saying that the game was on the road last week.
I'm saying there are a lot of similarities between last week's game and this week's game. Big spread, divisional opponent, home game for Buffalo. I like the Jets to cover.
Got it.
Steady rain. Steady rain at the Bills.
Steady rain. Okay, got it.
Steady rain also today, again, Chargers Patriots. And I kind of want to switch to the Patriots.
Chocolate rain. Today's on day. Shout out.
Chocolate rain.
I'm gonna keep it. All right, next game.
Next game is Carolina at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is favored by 8 here. Look at that beautiful child.
The swoop.
This one I'd love to go with Tampa Bay. I love Tampa Bay, but I feel like Carolina is as like a sure thing you can get as a dog right now. Covered for me last week as a dog. 8-point dog this week. I'm taking them again. Give me Carolina +8.
Just so everybody knows, all these games seem to be outdoors, and all of them are home East Coast games. And if you guys know, in Illinois it just rained, so that rain is now moving to the East Coast. A lot of rainy games this week. Cleveland, at Washington, Philadelphia. A lot of outside rainy games. So
I feel like I really don't know what's going on with Tampa Bay's season either. Every time I think about the NFC South, I just think about Tampa Bay running away with that division. And every time I look at the standings, Atlanta is in front of them. And it's like, I feel like I'm in a twilight zone.
Atlanta's not good. It also is supposed to rain in Tampa Bay. Just so you guys know.
So who are you taking?
Yeah, like Luke just said, Atlanta is now at the top of the division after Tampa Bay lost last week to Dallas.
Michael Penix.
It took Dallas.
Yeah, so Atlanta plays Washington this week. Tampa Bay plays Carolina, so that's a divisional matchup, unlike what Atlanta's got with Washington. Tampa Bay at home, -8. Carolina trending up. Tampa Bay kind of, you don't know what you're going to get kind of at this point. One of the only teams to beat Detroit this season. So they do have the ability to win, big games in a interesting fashion. They need this one. I don't think they win by 9. I don't think they can do that. So I'm gonna take Carolina with Lucas.
Tampa Bay.
I got to go change a poopy diaper, so I'll be back.
All right. Tom, you're on Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that
wait.
that was. I guess I'm just gonna take it. I'll take it straight to fantasy. I was in my the CSU club baseball team that I played on. They have a league out here, and I was just dominating. I think I was 12-2 going into the playoffs, and got a bye the first week and put up like 180 in a 2-flex league on the bye, and then this coming week I was projected to do like 165 or whatever, and he had like a 30, maybe 26% chance to win. He had Macmillan, Aubrey, Mike Evans. I think that's it. And he just cooked me. They're heating up right now. It's ridiculous. I was watching the game and I forget who it was against. I think it was against the Cowboys, right?
Mhm.
Cowboys versus Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was just track meet out there. It was really impressive in terms of the high-powered offense. How'd that game pan out again?
Cowboys
Cowboys won.
Yep, CeeDee Lamb's really good. Dang, that's crazy. I had it painted differently in my head, I guess, just because I was
Panthers don't have a CeeDee Lamb.
Or shut down CD.
Or a Dallas defense.
Yeah, Dallas's defense is also pretty good, turns out. Yeah, this is tough because Carolina has been playing some good ball, covering some good spreads. Like Luke said, betting on them to cover has been a pretty sure bet as a dog. I feel like Vegas is privy to that, though. You know, they're onto it at this point. Carolina has lost them a lot of money, and all that being the case, we've still got 8 points that we're looking at, which is quite a bit. Short plane ride, no plane ride for Tampa. Give me Tampa.
That would have worked through there.
Yep.
Yeah, so transitioning into the Tampa Dallas game, or our previous pick here, into Dallas, who we just touched on a little bit, versus Philly. Dallas at Philly. Philly's favored by 7.5 here this week.
Jalen Hurts.
Tom had just alluded to it. CD's been shut down for the year. He's not going to play in this game. And it was announced yesterday that Jalen Hurts was not going to be able to play in this game either. So some big injuries to take into consideration with this one. If you watched the Philly-Washington game last week, obviously amazing game. But would it have been what it was if Hurts didn't get a concussion in the first quarter? Dallas's strength in recent weeks has been not stellar play offensively, but consistent play offensively and then good defense. I think this plays to their strength this week against Philly. Obviously, Dallas, their season's over. There's nothing going on for them. Philly is very much like, they're a playoff team. And currently if some crazy stuff happens and Pickett can pull off a win for them, they still have an opportunity to get a 1 seed. Is that likely to happen with Jalen Hurts being injured? Probably not. But I think this being a division game, Dallas has really got this one circled as an opportunity to knock Philly down a couple pegs here in the NFC playoffs picture. So I'm going to go with Dallas despite CD being out. I think that the Jalen Hurts injury is more problematic for the Eagles. They're really going to lean on that run game. And when you do so, you're making yourself one-dimensional. And it allows a Dallas defense to really just focus on shutting down Saquon. So give me Dallas to cover. That one could bite me in the ass, but I'm going to go. They covered for me last week against Tampa Bay. Hoping they do the same this week.
The bad thing is, Luca, that I agree with this rainy, wet weather.
Yeah.
It's Kenny Pickett against Cooper Rush in a 7 spread is too big.
Au contraire. Cooper Rush
is better.
He was dropping some dimes out there. That was the other thought. It didn't spur when we were talking about the game previously, but when you were talking about CD being out for some reason, I was like, Cooper Rush was throwing him some soft little angel kisses in there.
My point to that, I do think Cooper Rush is better than Kenny Pickett.
Absolutely,
play longer this season. Kenny Pickett, maybe if you play the same amount of games, we would know more. But
not to say,
my point is that this spread is 7, right? Is that what we said?
7.5.
Yeah, and with these two quarterbacks, with lack of a weapon in CeeDee Lamb, 7.5 seems too big. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of scoring, per se. So that's why I'm going to pick Dallas in spread fashion. Could they win this game? I don't think so. But Nick Sirianni, a little bit crazy still. He could lose him the game.
Where's your head at here? What do you think?
I'm with Tom on actually a lot of points there. I just see that, they're both backups, right? I think Cooper Rush was looking kind of decent, which may mean that he's ripe for regression. We know some of these quarterbacks haven't really been consistent, we'll say, the backup quarterbacks that are playing in a lot of the organizations currently. So Kenny Pickett is just not he's just not as seasoned right now,
Yep.
Cooper Rush has got a nice marinade after a dry age. He's cooking.
There's a lot of things going for it to be the cover being like the spread is too high because it's a divisional game, like we've talked about.
Yeah.
The quarterback plays. I don't know how you can't pick Dallas.
Saquon.
How
have we not talked about Saquon this whole time?
Saquon. We talked about it. We said something about it.
Gosh, yeah. Give me the Eagles. Fade myself. Let's go.
Okay. I mean, really, Saquon. It is like a one-word.
He's going for that record
settlement. If you want to go that route for Saquon alone, I don't blame you. He's been that good. So, yeah. Jesse, what are your thoughts on Dallas, Philly?
Dallas, them boys are back. Divisional matchup in Philly. I want to see Philly fans get angry, like they always do.
Yeah.
Right. And this just seems like the perfect opportunity for that to happen. So I'm going with them boys. As much as I hate it. Is this America's game of the week? Probably, some bullshit like that.
It's 11, isn't it?
Child.
Probably.
Yeah. It wasn't just a poopy diaper. It was a full butt explosion. So we had to do an outfit change. And then while, we were doing that, she peed.
She was just laughing. I just pooped so much.
I'll tell you what, guys, around 8 months, the poops they change. They get different.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
no one would know better than you.
Sounds horrible.
And that makes you different.
That's all I got.
Next game is Colts going on the road to New York to play the Giants. The Colts are favored by 7.5 here.
Colts.
I'm curious. I mean, I'm about 90% certain Anthony Richardson has been ruled out for this. And despite that, the Colts are still favored by 7.5 here.
What's wrong with Anthony Richardson?
Who's their back?
I don't know what his injury is.
Who's their backup? What do you mean?
Their backup is Joe Flacco. And I think
Anthony Richardson's not playing.
Anthony Richardson is not playing. He is.
Josh Downs stock just went way up.
He's got a back foot, is what I'm seeing. Not back of his foot, but back and foot. And it's currently listed as questionable and is showing a 0-point projection via the ESPN fantasy app. So highly unlikely that he plays presently. If he does not play, Joe Flacco plays. We saw earlier in the year when they went away from Richardson, went to Flacco, thinking that was the answer long term, that did not work out. They had to go back to Richardson. But hear me out. Flacco in a spot start I think is
Park.
still got the juice. And Indy is still in the playoff hunt. They have not been eliminated. With a win this week, their chances of making the playoffs increased to 20%. Obviously not great, but the window's still open for them. So I think they're going to be playing tough. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's very motivated right now. That game last week was what you would have hoped to have seen out of him a majority of the year and what that offense would have been focusing on a majority of the year. I think the dropped touchdown the week before led to him like a fire being lit under his ass. I like Indy here on the road.
Yeah, I too like Indy. I don't think there's any chance that New York gives any opportunity to any other organization for this number one pick. So just take win off the tip.
Raiders.
Then you're just looking at the cover, right? Of course. Name of the game here, picks against spread. What didn't they lose by like 30 last week, like 30-0 or something? Or no, wait, that was the Saints. Sorry. Yeah, I think Flacco got yanked because he had one bad fourth quarter where they had the opportunity to win a game and he just wasn't hitting his spots. I still think that he's probably a better passer than Anthony Richardson. So I think he adds something to this Indianapolis offense, which was up big on the Titans last week and then let them back in the game. They ended up winning that game by 8 points, but they were up like, I don't know. Thanks, Jonathan Taylor mainly. So good to see them back having a emphasis on the run game. They'd still have one of the best offensive lines in the league. I like Indianapolis to cover here, easy.
Giants lost 34-7 last week.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Yeah. I too like Indianapolis here. Could be a bit of a track meet. So,
Tom, you're on Indy too?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, that's the first unanimous pick this week. Next couple of games suck. We've got Las Vegas going to New Orleans. Vegas is favored by 1.5 in this one.
okay. Can we go back to the last game real quick?
Yep.
I've been liking to take the overs in some of those cold games, and it's at the Giants, so I do suspect it being cold. So over for rushing yards.
It's probably rainy.
Yeah, probably rainy. I don't know. Sometimes there's sneaky overs, just with like cold ground, fast turf or whatever. There's something to it I've noticed. Cold weather.
I really want to take
ice skates and just it's gonna be a speed skating.
The rain,
kind of, yeah. You can't. I mean, when the turf's cold or whatever, you don't have the same grip, and you just get burned like we were getting burned out there.
Right.
Soldier Field.
We're talking weather like we know weather here, guys.
I'm just saying. There's a correlation.
It is 50s all across the nation right now. Or not nation, but like we're supposed to be cold. High 40s, high 50s even.
Okay.
So no cold, a lot of rain. I'm taking a lot of covers, right?
You don't know weather. Tom knows weather.
I just am like we're talking out of our you're talking out of line there.
I would expect New York to be cold in late December.
I agree. That's very that's what you're supposed to like that. But in this warm up that we have after Christmas, it's next week. I'll tell you, it's gonna be cold, and it's gonna be cold for a while. So get ready for that.
Damn.
Anyways.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
New Orleans is plus 1.5.
Yes, that is correct.
Ooh. At home?
Yep. This is going to be Aiden O'Connell versus Spencer Rattler. Again, trash.
Rattler was so bad.
As Tristan would say, trash.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go with the home dogs here in hopes that the home field advantage means something in New Orleans. I mean, it did at one point. Obviously, this is a team that's in kind of a bad place right now. But obviously Vegas is not very far ahead of them on that spectrum. So give me the home team. Give me Spencer Rattler.
Morgo?
I'm going to take the Raiders. I do like to pick home dogs, but picking Spencer Rattler is not something that I'm interested in doing. So is Kamara going full, or is he?
He's out.
He's out. Yeah, definitely Vegas. I don't even know who they got. Jacoby Meyer. He's sick.
That is one guy. They got Amir Abdullah. They got Aiden O'Connell, Brock Bowers. Come on, they got
Brock
ballers.
Bowers. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
They
Yeah,
got
that's
ballers.
game on me.
My body's telling me Raiders. I just feel like the Raiders is better.
The Raiders is better.
Wow, that was bad English.
Yeah, I'm with you guys.
Luke, what
I
are
just
you
don't
doing,
see
man?
how the Saints, led by Spencer Rattler, win a football
This
game.
is an opportunity for me to really create some distance here. And I just don't trust the Raiders. Like the Raiders.
The one thing that's making me want to pick the Saints here is the Raiders are one of these teams. If they put up another, or no, actually, we would want the Raiders to win to increase the Bears' draft position because the
Correct.
Saints are already at 5 wins. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Raiders. I just don't. Yeah, I don't see it. Even them being at home. I know the Raiders aren't a very good football team, but
I think the Raiders will have a couple turnovers. I mean, they're gonna.
the Saints, without their 2 best offensive weapons and Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave. Is he ever going to play football again? I don't know.
I'm switching to the Raiders.
No.
Come on, man.
I'm switching. For the sole reason that Jesse just brought up, which is if they win another game, we gain another spot in the draft. So despite all the negative things I said about the Bears to start this podcast, I still am a Bears fan. So I'll take
That's why you
it.
guys made one pick 28 minutes in.
Yeah. We're talking
next game is not much better. We got Tennessee going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's favored by 1 at home.
Rain also there.
Yeah, so this is one again where the Bears, are going to have an opportunity either way heading into the final week to gain some ground in the draft order. The Jags next week have Indianapolis. So if Indianapolis wins this week, I think if they win next week and Denver loses, I think they get the final spot, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to look at my playoff projection scenarios. But Jags at home, I think, with this being a toss-up, I like them being the favorites at home. If this game, if you give the 3 points for the home team, if this game were being played in Tennessee, Tennessee would be -4. That doesn't really make sense to me. Give me Jags.
I think I'm on the Titans. I'm just all about Fields this week.
Let's be honest, you're about Fields most weeks.
Yeah, it's true. I do some research during the picks, but I'm very blind this week, and it's every game's like, whoa. This game obviously stinks. I don't know. I still want to believe in the Titans for some reason. And Travis Etienne on my fantasy team just absolutely killing me this year. Just makes me hate the Jaguars. I hate them. And I hate Mac Jones. So yeah. Maybe it's just a hate for the Jaguars. And the rain, the Titans is my pick.
I'm going with the Titans too, Tom. I just think that they've for the same reasons you mentioned. Don't really like Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears. I think they've got a few more weapons offensively.
Is Mason Rudolph playing?
Mason Rudolph's playing.
I honestly think he's still better than the other guy.
I think he gives them a little bit more than Levis.
Stable.
So, Wargo, where do you fall on this one?
It is tough to go with Jaguars right now. Who is their starting quarterback? That's what I was trying to find out. Nobody wants to tell me. Mac Jones. Yeah, that's.
Is that a new microphone? Works? Is that a little? Is that a Christmas gift? What is that?
No, everything else in the frame is a Christmas gift, but not the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had this one, but I try to keep it out of frame. But I'm out here because my dad and stepmom are here because we're going skiing, so didn't want to wake anybody up.
Oh yeah.
Out in the sunroom, waving it around. It's kind of fun. Anyway, gosh, yeah, Jaguars with Mac Jones. I'm not gonna pick them. Give me the Titans, even though Mason Rudolph. I don't know how they scored 30 points last week.
This is good that I got.
Ooh, that's nice. That's nice.
Nice.
NFLshop.com. NFLshop.com. Sponsor.
I already picked the Jags.
Oh, okay.
Next game is Miami at Cleveland.
Welcome to Miami.
Welcome
Rain.
to Cleveland.
Is
Right.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson still the quarterback for Cleveland, or?
They're tanking, so yes.
It would seem very strange for that to be the case, but I think he is. Miami's still alive in the AFC. Obviously their chances are very low, but with a win, they'll move to 13% chance of making it in. And like Tom had just said, I think Cleveland's kind of at a point right now where they're just, what do they have to play for at this point? So I'll take Miami on the road to cover by a touchdown.
Absolutely taking Miami here. DTR loves to throw interceptions. Miami's defense is actually not all that bad. I don't know why I would expect them to be, but I picked them up in a few fantasy leagues. They've been playing well for me, and just Miami is seeming to kind of figure things out a little bit. Tua is being a goofball, silly Tua. Love that guy. But yeah, Miami, absolutely. What was the line again, though? 1.5?
6.5.
Okay, yeah. I figured that makes a
6.5.
little bit more sense. Love it at 6.5.
What are you looking at it on?
I got it off DraftKings about an hour and a half ago.
Well, it's now +5.
Jameson Winston?
Oh,
Just Jameis.
stay leaning forward.
He's questionable. But
Jameson.
Njoku and Cedric Tillman are both out tomorrow.
You guys see Rue over your
Who is?
shoulder?
Cedric Tillman and David Njoku are both out for the Browns, who have been their best weapons through the air.
So the line went down?
Something for Miami. Somebody must have been announced out for Miami if it's moving towards the Browns.
It's now at +4.5.
Oh, gosh, it's just like – I mean, I still anything with Dorian Thompson-Robinson playing, I can't pick that.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Jameis, right?
If it's moved that much, 1.5?
It says that he's still –
The only thing that can move lines like
Or
that
6.5?
is Jameis.
Jameis is questionable.
All right.
Let me look at Miami really quick, see if anything's
We might
going
have
on
to go
there.
back to that one. But I'm going to pick Miami at this point.
I think it might be Tyreek. I'm wondering if something was announced with Tyreek.
I mean, either way, I think Miami, there's still a chance they make the playoffs, right? So they're going to bring their A game. Cleveland probably not. I'll take Miami to cover on what spread are we going to go with?
Let's just go with what it is currently. So you said
Plus
4.5?
+4.5. So yeah, I'll take them to cover that.
Yep.
All right, everybody.
And anybody watching, this line was just at 6.5 It's now moved two full points. So maybe keep an eye on this one heading into tomorrow for some volatility, some arbitrage, right, Wargo?
Yes, sir. Taking it a few
All
different
war
books.
term.
Next one here is a big divisional game in the NFC North. Green Bay going to Minnesota. Minnesota's favored by 1.5 at home. Should be a good one.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I think that Green Bay is hitting a stride that they kind of did last year. And these young players are fresh and ready to go. Love is doing, a lot of what he did last year now, being healthy. It just seems like things are kind of lining up for Green Bay, as much as it kills me to say that. Minnesota, on the other hand, great team all year. Where's it at?
Minnesota.
They got the gong. Ooh, I feel like Green Bay hasn't showed up in big games this year for some reason. Is that a false thing to say? I don't know. We'll have to do some digging, but I'm just switching. I'm switching to Minnesota as we speak.
Yeah. First matchup between these two teams was early in the year. Jordan Love's coming off the knee injury. The Packers in Lambeau put up a big stinker in the first half. I think they were getting beat like 28-3.
Oh yeah.
Second half, Jordan Love was absolutely fire. Almost brought them back into this game. Since Minnesota stole the one in Lambeau on a Jordan Love that maybe was kind of a little guarded coming back from that injury, and then in the second half let loose a little bit. I think Green Bay gets this one in Minnesota. I'm going to take them.
So Jordan Love, certified gunslinger. He has not thrown very many interceptions in the last 5 or 6 games, it turns out. I think Brian Flores is going to bring some heat, and when Jordan Love gets heat up, he does not perform up to par for the standard that we've seen him play at. So for that reason, Brian Flores going with the.
You see where Jordan Love is last year on this chart? Far right.
Yeah.
Listen though, is that a sample size? What sample size is
pressure?
2021 through 2024.
Oh. All right.
He is the most far right of anybody on the chart.
Yeah, Wargo, we went into details on this chart earlier. Sorry to drop the chart on your ass late in the pod with no context.
It's in the text group. It's in the text group.
So I really like Green Bay here. They have an opportunity here at the end of the year where if they can get this win, they've got a game against a JV squad next week. Perhaps you've heard of them.
I have a bet going with Nate. Don't say nothing. Oh.
So Green Bay at 11-4 currently. If they can win this week, they'll be 12-4. That would drop Minnesota down to 13-3. And then guess who Minnesota's got next week?
Kansas City?
Detroit Lions.
Oh.
That is not a JV squad. Now, obviously, Detroit has been going through a lot of adversity right now with all the injuries that are occurring on that team. But I really think Green Bay sees a chance here to – I don't know what the tiebreaker would be. As Jesse had mentioned, Minnesota's already beat Green Bay once this year. So if Green Bay wins this game, they're split on head-to-heads. Then I'd assume it goes to strength of schedule, something like that. Division record, I don't have division record pulled up for those two NFC North standings. I like Green Bay here. I think they're playing well, and I think that they have an opportunity to get after Darnold a little bit. Looking at the NFC North, let's see. Yeah, so Packers are 5-2 in division. Vikings are 6-1 in division. So they're at a dead heat there as well. Then it probably goes to strength of schedule. I don't know what those numbers would be, but again, the Packers have a chance to, if they don't like where they're sitting currently at the 6th seed, they'd be playing Detroit, who's currently the number. I'm sorry, they wouldn't. Detroit would have a bye, so they wouldn't play them. Play the 2 seed, which would be the Eagles. I wouldn't want to play the Eagles right now. So they kind of control their own destiny here. I'm going to go with Green Bay. Wargo, what do you think? Who do you like?
No, I think I already gave my pick to go with the Vikings, didn't I? Brian Flores.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of want to change, but I'm not going to.
I think Josh Jacobs is the deciding factor here.
Me not changing is fading myself actually in this because you guys made some compelling arguments there for Green Bay, and I'm not coming over to the.
That's a galaxy brain move right there.
Well, I already said it.
Allowing yourself to go with what you think you've already made your pick, but you want to go against it, but you can't go against it because that would be you agreeing with yourself. So you have to go.
Correct.
With the original.
The thing with me today is that I was going all Green Bay, and then I talked myself out of that.
Okay, I love that.
She said that's really smart, Dad.
Sunday Night Football is going to be Atlanta at Washington.
Another big game, right? Washington's not in the playoffs, correct?
Washington is currently slotted as the 7 seed. They have an 84% chance of making playoffs, even if they lose this game. So they're sitting pretty good.
But I think if they lose, I think the Week 18 game they have to win. It was like a win because they play. I can't remember who they play.
Regardless, if you want to look into that, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
I like it. I like Atlanta.
They play the Cowboys in Dallas next week.
Okay.
I like Atlanta here. I think Washington. We talk about your blow your load game, right? I think that was blow your load game last week. As we see Nimbus prowling in the background.
He's going to take a dump in the frame. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I like Atlanta to keep it close against Washington. Can they win? I don't know, but I do think they can cover. So I'll take Atlanta here on the road.
I'll fade you and do Washington here. I think that Penix might have a little bit more a turnover or two.
Okay.
And I don't think that Atlanta defense is going to have the success it did last week. And I don't think they score as many points, Atlanta. So, and I think if we're going off that, Washington's going to score more points. Therefore, they are going to win.
Tom, can you say Bijan Robinson for me?
Bijan Robinson.
It's pretty compelling. I kind of thought the line would be a little bit larger here for like 4.5 or something. Washington at home, but I do think that this Atlanta team is.
They got to win.
They're playing pretty well. They're putting it together. I don't know where your ideas of is that just vibes, Tom, for the Penix turnovers?
Yeah, I mean he didn't have any last week. He's a second career start in the NFL against a Washington team that is Lattimore is there. They got some defensive backs that are better than some people I think believe.
Penix threw an interception last week.
Did he?
Lattimore go last week?
That just helps.
Lattimore did play last week. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I think it was his first start.
Yeah, he did play. He didn't do much, but he's still a name.
Gosh.
Pick who you want to pick here, man.
I don't want to pick against Atlanta right now. But I think I'm going to.
You just made me say Bijan Robinson.
I know. I want to pick Atlanta so bad. 3.5. 3.5. I'll take Atlanta at 3.5.
I'm going to tell you right now, my gut is telling me Atlanta. But
all right, I'm on it. Give it to me, baby.
Atlanta. What do you have?
I'm taking Washington. Michael Penix, still a rookie quarterback. He's only in his second start. Washington, well-coached team, especially at the head coach, Dan Quinn, defensive coach. Obviously, I think he knows that rookie quarterbacks are susceptible to making mistakes in their first year in the league. I know Atlanta has a grip on NFC South right now, and they're looking at Tampa Bay with a more favorable matchup against Carolina, and thinking that they need to win this game. But with it being in Washington, and Washington also wanting to lock up that playoff spot and not have to worry about it heading into next week, I think that's enough for them to come and show up today and beat this Atlanta team by 4 or more. So I'm going to go with them.
The only reason I'm not picking Atlanta also, I'm trying to pick teams that have, like the Buccaneers, they got to win. The Dolphins, they got to win. The people that need to win to try to keep their playoff hopes alive. Atlanta also needs to win, but also Washington needs to win. So that's why I'm okay with picking Washington here.
That didn't pan out for the Bears in like week 7, though. We really needed to win, and we just
I'm
kept
saying
on losing.
This is crunch time. There's 2 games left.
And I'm just saying it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes
I
you
agree.
really need to win.
I think they're both going to show up here. But
I thought you were on Atlanta.
No.
What?
I'm on Washington. My gut's telling me Atlanta.
Damn.
This is the one I'm going to go against my gut. Go on.
I'm still sticking with Atlanta. Next game.
Yep, me and Wargo are on Atlanta. Final game of the week, Monday Night Football, is going to be Detroit at San Francisco. Detroit is favored by 3.5 points here.
Seems small.
It does seem small, Tom. I agree with you. But I think that is in relation to kind of what I had hinted at earlier in terms of some of the injuries as of late for Detroit. And I think that this is an opportunity. Again, I kind of have touched on this a few times, but like there's a lot of teams who are playing for the opportunity to just screw shit up for somebody else. San Francisco's obviously had a down year, but they have an opportunity here to stick it to a team that, did Detroit beat San Francisco in the playoffs last year? Can't really.
They should have.
That sounds right.
They lost in the NFC Championship game.
Regardless, I see this as an opportunity for San Francisco to make Detroit's life difficult because, again, like everyone at the top of the NFC right now, nothing is locked up like it is in the AFC. Detroit at 13-2 is not out of reach from Philly at 12-3. So, if Philly takes care of business this week and Detroit slips, that could shake things up pretty, considerably. Detroit could, if something catastrophic happens here, could lose the handle on the NFC North at the end of the year here. So if Minnesota wins out, Detroit loses this week, and then obviously if Minnesota hands them a loss next week, Minnesota is going to get that number 1 seed in the NFC, which would be incredible. I don't think that's going to happen, but I am going to take San Francisco to cover this week at home.
Sam Darnold's coming for that number 1 spot, is what you're saying.
I had a big Christmas discussion about Sam Darnold.
And 7-year bump.
7-year bump.
Yep. And
see that bump, bitch.
Yeah, I said he's good. The other people were like, no, he sucks. I'm like, oh no, he's played enough games now that he's actually kind of good.
Who were these normies you were talking to, though?
A couple. What would they be? I don't even know. I'm bad.
They don't know ball. They don't know ball.
No, they don't know ball. He's a Raider. He's a Raider.
Is Dan Campbell's sack larger than Kyle Shanahan's brain? Right. Volume 2. Volume 1 in the NFC Championship last year, and
We saw how that ended.
Dan Campbell's sack shriveled when pressure hit.
It got gold. It got gold.
Obviously, not as much on the line here. There is still some on the line, especially for Detroit. Not only can they lose the grip on the NFC North, they may lose the one seed in the NFC. Philadelphia, I think, if they win out and Detroit loses these next two games, I think that's a path for Philadelphia to get the one seed, even though they lost last week to Washington. So there are still some, pretty significant implications coming into this game. I like San Francisco. I'm going to be honest. At home, defense playing okay. I don't know. They lost last week to Miami, which was a little bit surprising to me. But I think their backfield is a little bit healthier. They may be getting Garendo back.
Looks like Bosa's play as well.
Bosa's playing, creamy thighs. I think San Francisco's got them. I'm going to go with them at home.
Wargo?
I mean, it's a lot of theoreticals again. Like if Detroit loses out, if Minnesota wins out, I guess those things are somewhat correlated, being that the last game is against each other. I don't know if I see Detroit losing here. Picking against them is difficult to do. What's the spread at again?
3.5.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'll go with San Francisco. That makes no sense at all. I thought it'd be.
I don't think the spread makes sense for it being too low. I'm just saying, even with Detroit's injuries,
yeah,
the 49ers offense has not looked good minus Kittle. Kittle's been pretty good this year. They're banged up at the running back position. They obviously lost. He's slipping my mind. The receiver, Ayuk. And even though Detroit has a bunch of people out, they still have Jameson Williams, Amon St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff. And that defense is fine. So, I mean, they obviously have, Anzalone and all those guys out. Hopefully they'll be back to the playoffs. I'd like to see a stronger defense for the Lions. 3.5 teams too low, even at home for the 49ers.
Listen to these injuries for Detroit. And
there's a lot. 22 guys on IR, right?
IR, you got Marcus Davenport, defensive lineman, Derek Barnes, linebacker, injured reserve. Ennis Rakestraw, young cornerback that they took in the draft this year, injured reserve. Aleem McNeil, who was a game record for them in the middle, injured reserve. Aiden Hutchinson, obviously, is still out. Carlton Davis, their number one cornerback, is now on injured reserve. Alex Anzalone, who is obviously, I think he was kind of the play caller, green dot on that defense. He's out now on injured reserve. It's crazy. Like Montgomery's still out. Terry and Arnold.
But you think the 49ers
he's questionable this week. It's crazy.
With Detroit. That's the thing that I'm kind of like, if it was like a more than, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem right. Even with
Tom, you're on Detroit?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And that's Monday night. Last piece here is locks for the week. What are we thinking for the locks? I'm going with Green Bay.
I was about to take them.
That's
You
crazy.
can still take them.
That's crazy.
I'll go with Miami. Nah, I don't like that spread. Hold on. Cincy. I'll take Cincy.
Ooh.
I'm gonna take the Raiders. The Raiders.
Oh geez.
Put it in your parlays. Cincy.
I like Cincy. That one's nice.
I feel like locks from us having improved in the second half of the year. We've gotten better with our locks. That's just going on feel alone. I don't have the numbers in front of me to back that up, but I do feel like we've gotten a little better on the locks as the year has progressed. And Lola would agree.
I'm about to pick them boys. I'm about to pick them boys.
You're crazy.
Tom's going with them boys.
I'm going with them boys, dude. I was gonna go that or Commanders. What do you guys think?
Well,
Lola.
that is week 17 picks against the spread and Bears recap at the beginning. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it as always. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also go over to the X page to drop a comment on the page there as well. We'd love to interact.
Shout out to Luke's Wi-Fi for actually making it through.
Yeah, it was good.
There's literally nothing ever changes. It's just like day to day. It just decides it wants to be good or be bad.
The mornings, we got to hit it in the morning apparently.
Yeah, apparently. But yeah, again, thank you all for joining. We will see you next week for week 18, and bear down.
Bear down.